Hi, this is Robin, your IBRN, Inclusive Business Resource Network Capital Advisor, here with our Startup Capital series. And this is video number 5 and the last one of the series. And we'll talk about other sources of capital for young startup businesses and next steps that you can take on your capital journey. So let's first talk about some other sources of capital. We talked earlier about debt, we talked earlier about equity, but there's actually other sources of capital that young businesses can pursue. And they may not be easy, but it is sources of capital that you might want to build into your business plan. The first and foremost is sales. Sales is the best form of capital. You don't have to repay it back. You don't have to share profits, control, proceeds, with anybody else. It's capital for the business that can be used solely for the business. And so, one of the things that you can do as a young business is, really kind of try to build and ramp up your sales as fast as possible. Be creative as possible. Um, there are oftentimes, campaigns like Kickstarter campaigns that are actually like pre-sales campaigns where, you get people to kind of pay up front for the right to purchase your initial product or services. And, that could be a nice source of capital. Now, you'll have an obligation to deliver that product or service or offering to them. But that is, sales capital that can kind of come into your business. It doesn't have to be, a Kickstarter campaign. Those require a lot of PR and marketing and outreach efforts. But, you know, think about your business plan. Think about how you can start deriving sales and revenue from those sales, from the very get-go. Another type of capital is supplier financing. Now, granted, this would be tough as a young business, but if you're able to build a good rapport, a good trust with one of your suppliers, they may be able to extend some credit to you, some financing to you, to give you a little bit more room and flexibility for your business. And so, you could approach someone that is supplying you raw materials. And if they really like your business, they like what you're doing, they see big potential, instead of requiring a 45, 50% down payment up front and then, 50% payment due at the time of delivery, you may be able to negotiate things a little bit and say, hey, I'll pay you 25% when you deliver, 25% in 30 days, 25% in 60 days, and 25% in 90 days. Um, they may be open to that. Now, and that gives you some breathing room from a cash flow perspective for your business. Now, don't expect that to happen the first time you approach a supplier because they don't know who you are. But if you've made a couple of small purchases from them and you are developing a good rapport, definitely consider that an option. In fact, you may even want to plant a seed and say, hey, look, I know we're new to you, and you will go with your standard payment terms now. But if everything goes well, we'd like to discuss alternative payment arrangements in the future. And chances are, they'll say yes. They won't negotiate specific details at that time, but they'll certainly say yes because, the prospects of keeping a client happy, they'll want to do that. And then, assuming that everything is going well, you can approach them after a short period of time and say, hey, remember when we said we'd like to negotiate some payment terms? We've already made some orders with you, and to continue growing our business, we'd like to discuss payment terms, with your business. Um, and then the third final source is crowdsourcing. We talked a lot about that a little bit earlier about, Kickstarter. There are crowdsourcing campaigns out there that you can use to raise equity, to raise debt, as well as sales. The big disadvantage to all this is that you have to do a tremendous amount of PR, marketing, and outreach to generate, the audiences that will be investing, in your business in one of those three capacities, and that is going to be a significant type of amount of work. So if that's something that you have in your DNA or you already have established a good network, that's something that you can pursue. And may be able to raise some initial capital for your needs. Um, I'll leave one last thing about crowdsourcing is that there are some regulations when it comes to equity raises or debt raises through crowdsourcing. And those are things that you should probably discuss with an expert or an attorney in those fields. So next steps, the capital journey for startups. First, I would, if you haven't already, join Prosper Portland's IBRN newsletter for funding opportunities, grants, incentives, loan programs. I think every other week they have a announcement that goes out, and you can learn about, funding opportunities that may exist out there. The second is make realistic plans for your capital. Don't just say, oh, I think I'll get X dollars or I'll get however much I can get. Um, Rather, work with your IBRN advisor to assess your true expenses, your true revenue opportunities, and therefore your capital needs. Um, it often takes several rounds of iterations to hone those in, but the more accurate that you can, or more, I shouldn't say accurate, more realistic you can get those numbers to be, the better position you'll be in terms of, determining and raising the amount of capital that you need for your business. And then when you do have that plan ready, arrange for a capital advising session with us, and to get feedback about your capital plan and recommendations for next steps. Let me take a moment here to talk about the IBRN capital advising that is offered through Prosper Portland. And basically, this is support that is provided to businesses in kind of four areas, primarily around debt or loan capital. Our support doesn't necessarily fit for equity capital. We can offer some guidance and pointers, but this capital advisory services is really intended to support business loans. And there are kind of four stages. First is planning. And we'll sit down with you, understand your needs, understand your situation, and give you guidance in terms of how much you need, how you deploy the funds, types of loans that you may want to pursue, the planning, provide guidance and support around forecasting. The forecasting work is something that you would do on your own or work with your business advisor on, but we could provide guidance and support from a capital perspective. And give you an assessment about how loan ready are you. Is your credit score fine? Is your sufficient collateral? All the things that kind of go into a loan decision. We can sit down with you and give you an assessment to kind of give you a sense how realistic is it that you get a loan. And some of those additional details again are mentioned in the other video that we produced called "Can You Get a Business Loan?" So check that out. Once you have a plan, we'll help you shop for a loan, identify, appropriate lenders, lenders that may be willing to lend capital given your situation and needs. Obviously, we can't guarantee that you'll get funding, but we can kind of steer you towards the type of lenders that are more than likely than others to provide funding. So we can make referrals and provide assistance, as you have those initial conversations. And then at some point when you decide to apply for a loan, we can provide support in terms of packaging a loan application, answering questions that they may ask, preparing and refining the plans, forecasts, and reports that are needed, answering difficult questions that you may be asked, and then do a final review of your application package before you submit. And then finally, closing. You get approved for the loan, closing happens. We can review the loan terms, summarize the loan terms for you in kind of a layman's language so you understand what you're compliant for, or what you're obligated to do. It's not just the loan payments. There are often some terms around your financial performance, things that you may need to do. These are all things that we can give you a heads up to make sure you stay on track. And sometimes, depending on the lender, there is an opportunity to negotiate the terms of the loans, and so we can offer guidance in terms of that negotiations. So when you're ready, you can go ahead and schedule your free capital advising session by clicking onto the link there to schedule your kind of initial session, or scanning the QR code. Both will go to the same place. It's really important that you do have a conversation with your business advisor and put together some initial details before you schedule the session, because the conversation that we'll have is based upon some of that initial assessment, initial planning, initial discussions that you will have had with your business advisor. So with that, we want to thank you for watching the series. We're at the end. And again, a thank you to Prosper Portland for making this series of videos available. And we wish you the best of luck in securing the capital that you need for your business. Thank you.